My granddaughter told me she felt a little sick that morning, and I let her stay home from school. But that decision saved my life, because by the time the clock struck noon, she had already discovered the truth that almost sent me to prison. The truth that my own son was behind everything. And how all this happened. Let's start from the beginning. That morning began like any other. I brewed coffee, the same strong blend I've made for years, and watched the steam fill my quiet kitchen. My granddaughter Lila wasn't feeling well and asked to stay home. I touched her forehead and smiled softly. "All right, sweetheart, you can rest today." Before continuing, please subscribe and tell me where you're watching this story from, because what I'm about to tell you is still unbelievable. I thought she only needed rest. I had no idea she would soon become my protector. Okay, guys, have you ever had a moment when life felt completely normal, only to change within hours? That was my morning. Peaceful, ordinary. But fate was already preparing a storm. I poured Lila a cup of tea, added honey, and sat across from her at the kitchen table. The sunlight glowed through the window, touching her brown hair with gold. "Grandma," she said softly, "can I just stay near you today?" "Of course, my love," I replied. We ate toast in silence. That comfortable silence you share with someone who doesn't need words to understand you. I had lived in this house my whole life. It carried every chapter of my past, my laughter, my losses, and every lesson in between. I raised my son Daniel here. I watched him grow into a man. I thought I had done everything right. But life sometimes hides monsters behind familiar faces. 2 years ago, Daniel's wife died in a car accident. Since then, he changed. He became distant, impatient, and lately something darker. A few months ago, he brought me legal papers and told me to sign them. "It's just to protect you, Mom," he said. But my gut told me otherwise. I didn't sign. From that day, he stopped visiting often. And when he did, I saw something in his eyes. Coldness. Calculation. Okay, viewers, be honest. Would you sign papers you don't fully understand, even if your own child insisted? Around lunchtime, I went upstairs to change my clothes. My knees ached with every step. Small reminders of my age. Downstairs, Lila sat on the sofa watching TV when she heard something unusual. The front door lock clicked. A key turned. Someone entered. She froze. Only Daniel had a key, but he was supposed to be at work until evening. Holding her breath, she peeked from her doorway. Daniel stepped inside, his shoes wet, his eyes darting around. He looked nervous, guilty. Lila stayed perfectly still, watching as he reached into his pocket and pulled out something small. A white plastic bag. He slid it into my green winter coat hanging near the door. Then she heard him whisper into his phone. "It's done. Call the police tonight. The old woman won't understand a thing." Lila's world collapsed. Her own father, framing her grandmother? She covered her mouth to keep from screaming. Tears filled her eyes as he left the house quietly, locking the door behind him. She waited until the sound of his car faded, then crept toward the coat. Her trembling hands reached into the pocket and pulled out the bag. Inside, white powder. Her heart pounded. "He's trying to destroy Grandma," she whispered. She hid the bag in her dresser drawer, terrified yet determined. She knew she had to protect me, but how could a 14-year-old fight something like this? When I came downstairs moments later, I noticed her eyes. Red, afraid. "Lila, are you okay?" I asked. "Yes, Grandma. Just a sad movie," she lied. I smiled gently, unaware that my entire life was hanging by a thread. Don't miss the next part. When Lila realizes she must outsmart her own father before the police arrive that night. After that moment, Lila couldn't sit still. Every sound in the house made her jump. She kept glancing at my green winter coat, the same one Daniel had slipped the bag into just minutes earlier. Her small hands trembled as she held her phone. Should she call someone? Should she tell me? But then she looked at me, standing in the kitchen humming softly while washing dishes, and froze. Grandma doesn't deserve this. she whispered. Dad can't do this to her. She decided to stay quiet. For now. She needed a plan. I remember that afternoon clearly. I was folding laundry in my bedroom when I heard her pacing in the hallway. Lila? I called. Is something wrong? She peeked inside. No, Grandma. Just nervous about a school project. Okay, viewers, tell me honestly. If your child or grandchild started acting strange like that, would you notice something was off? Or would you believe their excuse like I did? I smiled and told her to relax. We'll make your favorite soup tonight, I said. That'll calm your nerves. She smiled faintly, but her eyes told another story. Fear mixed with determination. As the afternoon sun began to set, I sat in my old rocking chair reading a letter from my late husband. His words always gave me peace. You raised a good son. Keep faith in him. But little did I know, those words would soon shatter in meaning. Around 6 p.m., Lila heard Daniel's car again. She ran to the window. His headlights cut across the driveway. He was back. Her heart raced. Why is he here again? She thought. I didn't suspect anything. When I saw my son walk in, I smiled warmly. Daniel, twice in one day. What a surprise. He hugged me lightly. Just wanted to check in, Mom, he said with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. Okay, guys, have you ever seen someone smile, but deep down, you just know something isn't right? That was the moment my instincts screamed at me. But my heart refused to listen. We sat for dinner. Lila barely ate. She kept staring at him, her spoon motionless. I thought she was unwell again, so I said, Go lie down, dear. As soon as she left the table, Daniel leaned closer to me. Mom, I wanted to make sure everything's okay, he said calmly. Yes, everything's fine. Why? I asked. He shrugged. You'll find out soon enough, he muttered, eyes glinting. I frowned. What's that supposed to mean? Nothing, he replied quickly, finishing his drink and standing up. I'll stop by tomorrow. He kissed my forehead and walked out. When the door closed, a strange silence fell over the room. My chest tightened. Something about his words echoed like thunder in my mind. You'll find out soon enough. Upstairs, Lila was already crying. She clutched the small bag in her drawer and whispered, Dad, how could you? She pulled out her notebook and began writing everything she saw. The time. His words. His actions. She was smart enough to know she might need proof. Okay, viewers, be honest. If you were in her place, would you stay quiet to protect your family or tell the truth and risk everything? By the time night came, she barely slept. Every sound outside made her heart leap. The house felt heavier than ever, like danger was waiting outside the front door. At 11:45 p.m., the phone rang. I answered. A deep voice said, Ma'am, this is Officer Keller. We have a report that there might be illegal substances in your home. We'll be there soon to check. I froze. My hand shook. What? That's impossible, I said. Lila stood by the staircase, her face pale. She knew exactly what was happening. The trap was set. Grandma, she whispered, tears spilling down her cheeks. Please trust me tonight. I looked at her, my sweet, trembling granddaughter, and something inside me told me to listen. All right, Lila, I said softly. I trust you. That single decision would change everything that night. Don't miss the next part. When the police arrive at midnight, and Lila makes a shocking move to protect her grandmother. The clock struck 12 when we heard the sound. Heavy knocks on the front door. 3 loud thuds that echoed through every wall of the house. My heart almost stopped. Midnight. Just like the officer said. Lila looked at me from the stairs, her hands shaking, her eyes full of fear. Grandma, don't open it yet, she whispered. I swallowed hard. But it's the police, sweetheart. Please, she begged, just trust me. Okay, guys, what would you do in that moment? Would you open the door right away, or listen to a terrified child who says to wait. For a few seconds I hesitated. But something about her trembling voice made me pause. She ran upstairs, grabbed the small white bag from her drawer, and returned. "Grandma," she said quickly, "Dad put this in your coat today. He's trying to blame you?" I stared at the bag, my mind spinning. "Lila, are you sure?" "I saw him, Grandma, with my own eyes." My breath caught in my throat. My son, the boy I raised, the same boy I once held through thunderstorms, now framing me for a crime. I felt my knees weaken. I grabbed the table for support and whispered, "Why would he do this to me?" Before I could answer that question myself, the knocking came again. Louder. More urgent this time. "Police, open up!" Lila rushed to hide the bag behind the living room bookshelf. "We can't let them find it," she whispered. "If they do, they'll take you away." When I opened the door, 2 officers stood outside, one holding a flashlight, the other a notepad. "Good evening, ma'am. We received an anonymous report about possible illegal materials in this residence." I forced a shaky smile. "That's a mistake. Please, come in." They stepped inside, scanning the room carefully. One officer asked, "Are you alone?" "My granddaughter is here," I replied softly. Lila appeared, pretending to yawn. "Is something wrong, officer?" she asked innocently. The man looked around, then nodded to his partner. "Standard check," he said. They began opening drawers, inspecting shelves, and walking toward the hallway closet, where my coat hung. My heart pounded in my chest. Lila and I exchanged a terrified glance. Okay, viewers, imagine watching someone search your home, knowing that something planted there could ruin your life forever. What would you do? One officer reached for the coat. I could barely breathe. But just before he touched it, Lila suddenly sneezed loudly, dropping her cup of water all over the floor. "Oh no, I'm sorry," she cried, rushing to clean it. The officer turned to help her, giving me a moment that felt like divine mercy. The search continued, but they found nothing. After half an hour, one of them sighed and said, "Looks clean here, ma'am. Maybe it was a false report." "Thank you, officer," I whispered, holding back tears. When they left, I locked the door, my hands trembling uncontrollably. I turned to Lila. She was crying silently, clutching her chest. "Grandma, we can't tell anyone yet, not until we prove it." I hugged her tightly. "You saved me tonight, Lila, but we can't live like this. We have to know why your father did it." She nodded. "Then let's find out together." As she said those words, I realized the innocent child I raised had become my shield, my only hope. Okay, guys, have you ever felt your whole world collapse but still found one reason to stand strong? For me, that reason was standing right in front of me, trembling, but brave. That night we sat by the window, watching the police cars drive away. The moonlight fell softly across Lila's face as she whispered, "He's not done, Grandma. I know he's planning more." And she was right. Daniel wasn't finished. He had only just begun his plan. Don't miss the next part, when Lila secretly follows her father and uncovers a truth darker than either of us could imagine. The next morning, the world outside looked normal, but inside our home everything had changed. The police visit from the night before left a chill in the air. Even though they hadn't found anything, the fear lingered like a shadow that refused to leave. Lila sat at the kitchen table, still in her pajamas, her hair messy from lack of sleep. She pushed her cereal around with a spoon, eyes distant. "Sweetheart," I said softly. "You didn't rest at all, did you?" She shook her head. "I couldn't. I kept hearing Dad's voice in my head." I sighed deeply. My heart ached for her. No child should ever have to see their own parent in such darkness. Okay, guys, tell me honestly, if someone you loved betrayed you like that, could you ever forgive them? Or would that wound never heal? I tried to keep things calm. "Let's pretend it's a normal day," I told her. "We'll bake something sweet, open the windows and breathe." She nodded quietly, but I could tell her mind wasn't here. Something was stirring in her. Something fierce and determined. After breakfast, she said she wanted to take a walk to clear her head. I hesitated at first, but the sunlight outside felt gentle. Safe, I agreed. Don't go far, I said. She smiled faintly. I'll just be a few minutes. What I didn't know was that she had another plan. Lila took her small backpack and slipped out quietly, crossing the street toward the bus stop. She had seen Daniel's schedule on his phone weeks ago. She knew where he worked, and she wanted answers. When she boarded the bus, her heart raced. Every stop felt longer than the last. She kept rehearsing what she'd say if she saw him. Why, Dad? Why would you do that to Grandma? Okay, viewers, imagine being that young, terrified, but still ready to face the truth. Would you have that kind of courage? The bus stopped near the industrial area where Daniel's office stood. Lila got off and hid behind a tree across the street. She waited. 15 minutes later, Daniel appeared, walking out of the building, talking to someone on the phone. She couldn't hear everything, but one phrase reached her ears clearly. Yeah, she doesn't suspect a thing. Once it's in the report, the old woman will lose the house. Then we can sell it. Lila froze. Her father wasn't just framing me. He was trying to take my home, the place where generations had lived, where every wall carried memories. Tears filled her eyes, but anger started to burn through them. She pulled out her phone, opened the camera, and started recording. She whispered, "You won't get away with this, Dad." After a few minutes, Daniel drove away, unaware that his daughter was watching from the shadows. Lila took the bus back home, her hands trembling, heart pounding. She knew she had evidence, but not enough. She needed to gather more. When she returned, I was in the garden watering the roses. She ran up to me, breathless. "Grandma," she said. I followed him. I froze. "You what?" I had to. "And Grandma, he's not just trying to frame you. He wants this house." I heard him say it. My watering can slipped from my hand, splashing water across the soil. My throat tightened. "He wants the house?" She nodded, holding back tears. I recorded him saying it. I hugged her tightly, overwhelmed by both pride and pain. "You're braver than anyone I know, Lila," I whispered. But deep inside, I knew if Daniel was willing to go this far, he wouldn't stop now. "Okay, guys, be honest. What would you do if your own child turned against you for money? Would you fight them, or still try to save them?" That night, I sat by my bedroom window, watching the lights fade across the neighborhood. My reflection stared back, tired, older, but no longer weak. I had spent my whole life protecting my family, but now it was time to protect the truth. Don't miss the next part, when Daniel discovers Lila's secret recording and everything begins to spiral out of control. That night, I couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Daniel's face. The little boy who once made me handmade cards, now plotting to destroy me. I lay there in silence, listening to the house breathe, the soft hum of the fridge, the faint ticking of the clock, the wind brushing against the curtains. Down the hall, Lila was awake too. I could hear her pacing, whispering to herself. The sound of her courage was louder than her fear. Around midnight, I got up and went to her room. She was sitting by the window holding her phone, staring at the recording she'd made earlier. "He's my dad," she said softly. "How could he do this to you?" I sat beside her and pulled her into my arms. "Sometimes," I whispered, "the people we love the most are the ones who hurt us the deepest." She leaned her head against my shoulder. "What are we going to do, Grandma?" I took a deep breath. "We'll wait. We need to be smart. We'll find out everything before we make a move." "Okay, guys, what would you do if your own child betrayed you like that? Would you go straight to the police or wait quietly until you had proof?" The next morning, I woke up to the sound of my phone buzzing. It was Daniel. I hesitated before answering. "Mom," he said in a calm voice that made my stomach twist. Did the police come last night? I hesitated. They did, but everything's fine. He paused. That's good. I was just worried. You know I'd never let anything bad happen to you. His words dripped with false concern, and I could almost hear the smirk hiding behind them. Daniel, I said slowly, is there something you want to tell me? There was silence on the other end, then a chuckle. Mom, you sound paranoid. Just rest, okay? He hung up. Okay, viewers, have you ever heard someone lie so smoothly that it made your skin crawl? That was my son. Calm, confident, dangerous. Later that day, I decided to hide the recording somewhere safe. Lila suggested the attic, a place Daniel never liked because of his fear of heights. We placed her phone and a backup USB copy of the video inside an old box labeled Winter Decorations. I told her, we can't rely on this alone. We need more. That's when she had an idea. Grandma, what if I pretend to forgive Dad? If I message him and say I'm sorry for avoiding him, maybe he'll start talking again, and I can record more. I hesitated. That's risky, Lila. But he won't suspect me, she said. He thinks I'm just a kid. She wasn't just a kid anymore. That night had changed her. Reluctantly, I agreed. Okay, I said softly. But you'll be careful, and you won't meet him alone. Ever. She nodded, eyes full of quiet determination. That afternoon, she sent him a message. Hey, Dad, I miss you. Can we talk soon? It didn't take long for him to reply. Of course, sweetheart. Let's have dinner tomorrow. Just you and me. Lila showed me the message. My chest tightened. He took the bait, I said. Okay, guys, would you let your granddaughter walk into something like that? Or would you stop her, even if it meant losing your only chance at proof? I barely slept that night. I sat by her bed, watching her breathe, praying silently that nothing would go wrong. The next day came faster than I wanted. Lila dressed simply. Jeans, a pink sweater, her small bag. She looked like any other teenager heading out, but I could see the bravery behind her trembling smile. Don't worry, Grandma, she said softly. I'll just talk to him. He won't know anything. As she left, I stood by the window, my heart pounding. The street looked so normal, so harmless. Yet I knew she was walking straight into danger. Okay, viewers, have you ever watched someone you love walk away, knowing you might not be able to protect them this time? That feeling burns deep, like fear mixed with faith. Don't miss the next part, when Lila meets her father for dinner, and a single mistake nearly exposes her secret. Lila's dinner with Daniel still haunts me when I think about it. That evening, as the sun sank behind the rooftops, I stood by the living room window, clutching the curtains, praying silently. Every minute felt like an hour. She had promised to meet him at a small restaurant downtown, a public place, safe or so I hoped. She'd told me she would keep her phone on, recording everything. But a mother's fear doesn't listen to logic, and a grandmother's fear is even worse. At 7:05 p.m., she arrived at the restaurant. Daniel was already there, sitting at a corner table, a glass of wine in hand. His smile looked warm, but his eyes, they were cold as glass. Lila, he said, standing to hug her. It's been too long. I missed you. She forced a smile. I missed you too, Dad. He motioned for her to sit. I know things have been strange between us. Your grandmother's been saying things about me, hasn't she? Lila's stomach twisted. She had rehearsed this moment all day. No, Grandma just worries too much, she said softly. He smiled faintly. Good, because she's confused lately. She forgets things, you know. Okay, guys, imagine hearing your own father try to twist reality like that. Would you stay calm, or would your anger show? Lila clenched her fists under the table. She wanted to scream at him, to tell him she knew everything. But she couldn't risk it. Instead, she asked, Dad, why did the police come to Grandma's house last night? Daniel looked surprised for a split second, then quickly masked it with a smile. Routine check. Someone in the neighborhood must have made a mistake. Lila tilted her head, pretending to believe him. Oh, I was scared. He reached across the table, touching her hand. "You don't need to be scared, sweetheart. I'll always protect you." The irony burned her from the inside out. Back home, I sat at the kitchen table with my tea untouched. Every creak in the house made me flinch. I checked my phone constantly, waiting for her call. Finally, around 8:30, my phone buzzed. It was a message from Lila. "I'm okay. Heading home." I exhaled in relief, whispering a thank you to every star I could see through the window. Okay, viewers, be honest. Have you ever had that kind of relief? The kind that comes after hours of fear, when you finally know the person you love is safe. When she came home, I could see the tension in her face. "Grandma, he lied about everything," she said immediately. "But I recorded it all," my heart pounded. "Did he say anything about the drugs?" She shook her head. "Not directly. But he hinted. He said you were confused and needed to be taken care of." Those words made me freeze. Taken care of. The same phrase he used when he had his wife committed years ago, before she died in that car crash. Could he be planning the same thing for me? Lila saw my face pale. "Grandma, you don't think—" "I don't know," I said quietly. "But we can't stay here if he's watching us." She looked scared. "Where will we go?" I took her hands. "Somewhere safe. Somewhere he can't find us." That night, we packed a few essentials. My documents, her school things, and the small flash drive with the recording. We waited until midnight before leaving the house. As we stepped into the cool night air, I looked back at my home. My garden, my porch, every memory that house held. And a tear rolled down my cheek. "Grandma," Lila whispered. "We'll come back one day." "Okay, guys. Have you ever had to leave everything behind just to protect the truth? It hurts in ways you can't explain." I squeezed her hand. "Let's just survive tonight," I said softly. We didn't know where we were going, only that we couldn't stay. The road ahead was dark and silent, but one thing was clear. The battle had just begun. Don't miss the next part, when Daniel discovers the house empty and begins hunting for the proof his daughter left behind. We reached my old friend Clara's house just before dawn. The sky was a pale gray, and the air smelled like rain. Clara and I had known each other since childhood. She opened the door, startled to see us standing there with bags in our hands. "Rosa, what happened?" she asked, her voice full of concern. I gave her a faint smile. "We just needed a place to stay for a few days." Without asking another question, she pulled us inside. That's the kind of friend she's always been. Someone who trusted the silence before the words. Lila went straight to the guest room, exhausted, and fell asleep instantly. I sat on the couch, my hands wrapped around a cup of tea Clara made for me. "Now tell me the truth," she said quietly. "What's going on?" So I told her. Not every detail, but enough. Enough for her to understand that my son wasn't the man she once knew. Her face grew pale. "Rosa, that's dangerous. You can't just stay here forever." "I know," I said softly, "but we needed time to think. Okay, guys, imagine being a mother hiding from her own child. Would you run like I did? Or would you confront him head-on? Back at our house, Daniel arrived later that morning. The door creaked open to emptiness. No kettle boiling, no sound of footsteps, no laughter. He walked around slowly, scanning every corner. "Mom?" he called. Silence answered him. His eyes narrowed. Something felt wrong. He went straight to my bedroom, then to Lila's. Drawers were open, clothes missing. He clenched his jaw. Then he noticed something odd. A box missing from the top shelf in the attic. The winter decorations box. His heartbeat quickened. "No!" he whispered, rushing upstairs. He tore through the boxes, tossing aside old photo albums, blankets, even Christmas lights. But the one box, the one hiding Lila's recording, was gone. He realized then that she knew. Okay, viewers, what do you think he felt in that moment? Guilt? Fear? Or just anger that his plan was falling apart? He kicked over a chair, his anger exploding in the silence. Then he pulled out his phone and made a call. "She's gone," he said sharply. "Find out where she went. Check her school, her friends, everywhere." The voice on the other end replied, "And the recording. She took it," Daniel hissed. "But she won't get far." Back at Clara's, I could feel that danger wasn't far behind us. I didn't need proof. A mother always knows when her child is near, even in fear. That evening, while Lila slept, Clara and I sat together in the kitchen. The rain tapped softly against the window. "Rosa," she said, "you have to go to the police." "I can't," I whispered. "Daniel made the first report. They think I'm unstable. He planned it perfectly." Clara's eyes filled with sadness. "Then you need another plan. You can't keep running forever?" I nodded. "We'll find proof. Real proof. Then I'll go to the police myself." At that moment, Lila walked in, holding her phone. "Grandma, I think I can track him." I frowned. "Track him how?" "I installed a location-sharing app months ago on his phone, when he gave it to me to fix. It's still active." I stared at her, shocked and amazed at her quick thinking. "Okay, guys," I said, looking at her. "What would you do if your own granddaughter showed more courage than anyone around you? Would you let her lead, or protect her no matter what?" She turned the screen toward me. A red blinking dot moved slowly across the city map. "He's not at his office," she whispered. "He's on the move." "Where is he going?" I asked. She zoomed in, her eyes widening. "He's heading toward Clara's neighborhood." The air around us seemed to freeze. My heart pounded in my chest as I whispered, "He knows." We turned off the lights immediately. I could hear my own pulse in the darkness. Lila gripped my hand tightly. "Grandma," she said softly, "we can't hide anymore." She was right. Don't miss the next part. When Daniel finds their hiding place, and Rosa is forced to face the son she no longer recognizes. The sound of tires crunching over gravel outside Clara's house made my heart jump. I moved quietly toward the window and peeked through the curtain. A black car sat at the curb. Headlights off, engine still running. Clara walked up behind me. "Rosa, is that?" I nodded slowly. "It's him." My chest tightened. My own son Daniel had found us. Inside, the room felt smaller, the air heavier. Lila was sitting on the couch, clutching her phone. "Grandma, what are we going to do?" I tried to stay calm, though my hands trembled. "We'll stay quiet," I whispered. "He doesn't know for sure we're here." But deep down, I knew Daniel wasn't the kind of man to leave without checking. He stepped out of the car, his figure dark under the streetlight. Even from inside, I could feel his anger. That same sharp energy that used to appear when he was a teenager, back when he'd argue with me and slam the door. Only this time, it wasn't teenage rebellion. It was something darker. He knocked once, hard. "Mom, I know you're in there," Lila gasped. Clara whispered, "You can't open that door." My legs wanted to move, to open it, to confront him, to demand why he'd done this. But my heart, it begged me to stay still. "Okay, guys, tell me honestly. If the person knocking was your own child, would you open the door, or would you hide from them?" He knocked again, louder. "Mom, come on. I just want to talk." Lila clutched my arm, whispering, "He's lying." Through the window, I could see his face, calm but furious underneath. He looked like a man used to getting what he wanted. Finally, after several minutes, the knocking stopped. I heard his footsteps move around the house, slow and deliberate. He was checking the windows. I pulled Lila close. "Don't move. Don't make a sound." We could hear him outside. The crunch of gravel, the creak of the gate. Then silence. For almost 20 minutes we stayed still, barely breathing. Finally, Clara peeked through the curtain. The car was gone. "He left," she said in a whisper. But I shook my head. "No, he's watching. He's testing us." And I was right, because the next morning, Clara's neighbor came over looking uneasy. "Rosa," she said softly. There was a man sitting in a car across the street all night. Didn't move once. My stomach dropped. What kind of car? Black sedan, she replied. He was still there when I left for work. Lila and I exchanged a terrified glance. Okay, viewers. What would you do if you knew someone was watching your every move, waiting for you to make one mistake? That evening I gathered Lila and Clara in the kitchen. We can't stay here anymore, I said firmly. He's trying to scare us into running, but this time, we'll be smarter. Lila looked up. What do you mean? We'll leave, I said, but not without leaving something behind. She frowned. What kind of something? I opened my old handbag and took out a small envelope. Proof, I whispered. Inside was a copy of the recording, along with a note I'd written to the police. I gave it to Clara. If anything happens to us, I told her, you take this to the station. Don't trust anyone. Just hand it to the chief. Clara's eyes filled with tears. Rosa, please don't do something foolish. I smiled faintly. This isn't foolish. It's a mother fighting back. That night, while Clara slept, Lila and I packed quietly. We moved through the dark like ghosts. Careful, silent, hearts pounding. Before leaving, I turned back to the small house that had protected us. Thank you, I whispered. We stepped into the night, walking fast toward the bus stop at the corner. The cold wind bit through our clothes, but fear kept us warm. Leela held my hand tightly. Grandma, she said softly. Where are we going now? I squeezed her hand. To someone who can help us. Okay, guys, what do you think? Should we have gone straight to the police or kept running until we had more proof? Because that night, fate decided for us. As we reached the corner, headlights suddenly flooded the street, and the same black car rolled to a stop right in front of us. Don't miss the next part. When Daniel finally confronts them on the road, and Rosa's love for her son is tested in ways she never imagined. The black car stopped right in front of us. My breath caught in my throat. The street was empty, silent. Only the hum of the engine filled the night air. Daniel stepped out slowly, his expression calm but dangerous. The kind of calm that comes right before a storm. Mom, he said, his voice low. We need to talk. I instinctively pulled Lila behind me. You shouldn't be here, Daniel. He raised an eyebrow. You left without telling me. The neighbors were worried. The police even called. Don't twist this, I said firmly. You know why I left. He took a few steps closer, his shoes scraping against the pavement. You're confused, Mom. Someone's been putting ideas in your head. Probably that friend of yours. What's her name, Clara? Lila's voice shook. Stop lying, Dad. I saw what you did. For a moment, his mask cracked. Anger flashed in his eyes. You don't know what you're talking about. I saw you, Dad, she shouted. I saw you hide that bag in Grandma's coat. Silence fell between us. Even the wind seemed to pause. Okay, guys. Imagine hearing your child accuse their parent like that. The truth out loud for the first time. Would you step in or let them fight it out? Daniel's jaw clenched. Lila, he said slowly, you're just a kid. You don't understand how the world works. She stood tall, tears glistening in her eyes. I understand enough to know you were going to send Grandma to prison. He took another step forward, his tone shifting from calm to cold. Give me the recording. My heart stopped. What recording? I asked carefully. Don't play games with me, Mom, he snapped. I know you took it. You and your little spy here. Lila's hand tightened around her phone in her pocket. You'll never get it, Daniel's voice rose. Do you have any idea what you're doing? You're ruining everything. Okay, viewers, what would you do if your own son stood there, yelling, threatening, and yet all you wanted was to save his soul? Would you fight him, or still try to protect him? I raised my voice. Daniel, listen to me. You can still stop this before it's too late. He laughed bitterly. Too late? Mom, it's been too late for a long time. You never understood me. You gave everything to everyone. Except me. His words pierced deeper than any knife. I saw not just a man, but the broken boy he used to be. The one who always wanted to prove himself. Daniel, I whispered, tears falling. I gave you everything I had. He looked away for a second, almost human again. Then why did I always feel like I wasn't enough? Before I could answer, Lila's phone buzzed. The faint sound of a message alert. Daniel's eyes darted toward her hand. What was that? He asked sharply. Nothing, she said quickly. But it was too late. He lunged forward, trying to grab it. Run! I screamed. Lila bolted down the street, clutching her phone. Daniel chased her, his footsteps pounding against the pavement. I followed as fast as my legs would carry me, shouting, "Stop! Daniel, please." My heart thudded painfully with every step. The streetlights blurred as I ran. Ahead, Lila darted around the corner, quick, terrified, determined. When I reached the intersection, I saw Daniel had stopped halfway, breathing heavily, his fists clenched. Lila was gone. He turned toward me, eyes wild. Where is she? I don't know. I lied. He stared at me for a long moment, then spat out. If you've turned her against me, I swear. I raised my voice. She's not against you, Daniel. She's fighting for what's right. You can still fix this. Turn yourself in before you lose everything. But he didn't answer. He just got back in his car and drove away, the tires screeching into the darkness. I stood there under the flickering streetlight, breathing hard, my heart torn in two, between fear for Lila and grief for the son I had already lost. Okay, guys, have you ever loved someone so much that even when they destroy you, a part of you still hopes they'll change? That was me, standing there, praying for a miracle in the dark. A few minutes later, Lila called me from a payphone nearby. Her voice shook. Grandma, I'm okay. I hid in the alley. Tears of relief streamed down my face. Stay there, sweetheart. I'm coming. As I walked toward her, I didn't realize that Daniel hadn't given up. He was already planning his next move. And this time, he wouldn't just come for me. He'd come for the truth itself. Don't miss the next part. When Daniel's plan turns from revenge to desperation, and a single phone call changes everything for Rosa and Lila. When I finally reached the payphone, I saw Lila sitting on the curb, knees pulled to her chest, her face streaked with tears. She looked so small, so fragile, and yet so strong. I rushed to her and wrapped her in my arms. You're safe now, I whispered, my voice shaking. You did the right thing, sweetheart. She clung to me tightly. Grandma, he was so angry. I thought he'd... Shh, I said gently. He won't hurt you. Not while I'm still breathing. We stayed like that for a while, the streetlights flickering above us. Then she looked up and said, We can't keep running forever, Grandma. We have to end this. Her words hit deep. She was right. We couldn't live in hiding anymore. It was time to face Daniel, but not blindly. Take a second to like and subscribe, and press the bell icon to stay with me for more stories like this one. We took shelter in a small motel at the edge of town. The place was quiet, almost too quiet. Lila lay on the bed while I sat by the window, watching the rain fall in soft sheets outside. Grandma, she said, her voice barely a whisper. He's not going to stop, is he? I shook my head slowly. No, not until he gets what he wants. Okay, guys, be honest. What would you do if your own child became your enemy, chasing you like a stranger in the night? Could you still love them after everything? I thought about Daniel's words. You never understood me. Maybe I didn't. Maybe I missed the signs. Maybe. Just maybe. I had failed him somewhere along the way. But what he was doing now wasn't about hurt feelings. It was about greed, power, control. I turned to Lila. We'll make our move tomorrow. But first, we need help. Who can help us? She asked. I thought of an old family friend, Detective Morales, who had retired years ago. He was one of the few people who ever truly believed in me. "If we can reach him," I said, "he'll listen. He'll know what to do." Lila nodded, determination in her eyes. "Then let's go find him." The next morning, the sun finally broke through the clouds. For the first time in days, I felt a tiny flicker of hope. We left the motel quietly and took the early bus into the city. Lila sat beside me, her head resting on my shoulder, holding the flash drive tightly in her hand. That little piece of plastic carried everything. Our truth, our safety, our last chance. When we reached the city center, I spotted Morales' office. A small sign that read, "Private Investigations." My heart lifted. But just as we crossed the street, I noticed something that froze my blood. A black car parked across the road. Daniel's car. He was already there. Okay, viewers, what would you do if the person you feared most showed up right before your one chance at freedom? Would you run, or would you fight back? Lila saw it too. "Grandma," she whispered. "He found us again." My pulse quickened. I grabbed her hand. "Stay calm. We'll go around the back." We slipped into the alley behind the building and entered through a side door. Inside, Morales' secretary looked up in surprise. "Can I help you?" "Please," I said urgently. "We need to see Mr. Morales. It's about my son." Moments later, Morales appeared. Older, grayer, but his sharp eyes still the same. "Rosa?" he said in disbelief. "What on earth?" "There's no time," I interrupted. "My son's been trying to frame me for something I didn't do. He planted evidence, called the police, and now he's after us." He studied my face, then looked at Lila. "You have proof?" Lila nodded and held out the flash drive. "Everything's on here." Morales took it carefully. "All right," he said. "You two stay here. I'll handle the rest." I exhaled in relief for the first time in days. Maybe, finally, things would start turning around. But outside, through the blinds, I could see Daniel's silhouette standing near his car, staring at the building, waiting, watching. Okay, guys, sometimes hope comes at the same moment danger does. That's when you realize the fight isn't over yet. Don't miss the next part. When Morales uncovers the shocking truth about Daniel's hidden scheme, and Rosa learns just how deep the betrayal really goes. Morales sat at his old wooden desk, staring at the screen as Lila's video played. Daniel's voice filled the small room, cold, calculating, undeniable. "Yeah, she doesn't suspect a thing. Once it's in the report, the old woman will lose the house. Then we can sell it." I felt my throat tighten hearing those words again. Morales paused the video and turned toward me slowly. "Rosa," he said quietly, "this isn't just about framing you. He's working with someone, maybe more than one person." My heart pounded. "What do you mean?" Morales leaned back, frowning. "That voice in the background, the one answering him? That's not just a friend. That's someone inside law enforcement." Lila gasped. "Someone from the police?" He nodded. "It explains why the first visit came so fast and without a warrant. Someone's helping your son from the inside." The room fell silent. The truth was heavier than anything I'd imagined. Take a second to like and subscribe, and press the bell icon to stay with me for more stories like this one. I gripped the edge of the desk. "So what do we do now?" Morales stood up. "You leave it to me. I still have friends in the department who aren't corrupt. We'll expose this." He copied the files to his laptop and handed Lila back her flash drive. "Keep this safe. It's your backup now." Okay, guys. Imagine hearing that the people you trusted, even the police, might be part of your enemy's plan. What would you do? Would you still believe in justice, or take matters into your own hands? Before we could answer, Morales' phone buzzed. He looked at the screen. Then his expression hardened. "He's here," he whispered. I moved to the window. Daniel was walking toward the building. Lila grabbed my arm. "Grandma, we have to go." "No," I said, my voice firm. "Not this time. We've been running long enough." Morales nodded. "Go into the back office. Let me handle him." Lila wanted to argue, but I pulled her close. "Trust me, sweetheart." We slipped into the small room behind his office. Through the crack in the door, I could see Daniel step inside. "Mr. Morales," he said coolly, "I'm looking for my mother. She's missing, and I'm worried sick." Morales smiled politely. "Missing, you say? That's strange. I heard she was doing just fine." Daniel's eyes narrowed. "You've seen her?" "I see many people," Morales replied calmly. "Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm busy." Daniel leaned forward. "If you're hiding her, you're making a mistake." Morales didn't flinch. "And if you're threatening me in my own office, you're making a bigger one. Okay, viewers, have you ever seen two people who both think they're in control, not realizing only one of them truly is?" That tension filled the air like static. Daniel's jaw tightened. "Just tell her to come home," he muttered, turning toward the door. As he stepped out, I could see his reflection in the glass, his calm mask cracking for a moment, revealing the storm beneath. He knew the walls were closing in. When the sound of his car faded, Morales came to the back room. "He's scared," he said. "That means we're close." Lila exhaled shakily. "What if he finds out we came here?" "He already knows," I said softly. "But now we have something he doesn't. The truth." Later that night, we stayed in a small apartment Morales arranged for us. Safe, quiet, hidden. I sat on the couch watching Lila sleep. Her courage amazed me. I thought of Daniel again, my son, my blood. The boy who once made me birthday cards and picked flowers from the yard. "Okay, guys. Do you think a mother can ever stop loving her child, even after everything he's done? Because no matter how much pain he caused me, a part of me still hoped he'd come back to himself. But deep down, I knew that before that could happen, something even darker was going to surface. Don't miss the next part, when Daniel's desperation pushes him to a dangerous breaking point, and Rosa's love is tested in the most heartbreaking way. That night, I barely slept. The city outside was quiet, but my heart was loud, every beat filled with worry, fear, and something even heavier, hope. I kept replaying Morales' words in my head. He's scared. That means we're close. But fear can make dangerous people unpredictable. And Daniel, he was already unraveling. Lila stirred in her sleep, whispering, "Grandma." I brushed her hair gently. "It's all right, sweetheart. I'm here." Take a second to like and subscribe, and press the bell icon to stay with me for more stories like this one. Early the next morning, Morales called. "Rosa, I've been digging. You were right. Your son's partner in this is an officer named Reed. He's been under internal review for months. If we expose him, Daniel's whole plan collapses." My heart jumped. "So it's almost over?" "Almost," Morales replied. "But there's one problem. They know I'm involved now." I froze. "What do you mean?" "They tried to access my office last night. I had to move the files. I think they're desperate." Okay, guys, imagine hearing that, knowing the people chasing you have now turned their eyes on the only person trying to help. What would you do? I looked at Lila. "We can't let Morales get hurt because of us." She nodded. "Then we help him, Grandma. We finish this." That afternoon, Morales met us in a quiet cafe near the train station. He looked tired but determined. "I made copies of everything," he said, sliding an envelope across the table. "I'm sending one to the chief's private address. Once he sees this, Reed and your son will be finished." But before I could breathe a sigh of relief, a shadow fell over our table. Daniel. He stood at the entrance of the cafe, eyes locked on us. Lila gasped. Morales turned pale. "How did he—" "He tracked my phone," I whispered. "I forgot it in my purse." Daniel walked closer, his tone eerily calm. "Mom, you've made this harder than it needed to be." I rose from my seat, my voice trembling. "Daniel, please stop this before it's too late." He laughed softly. "Too late? You don't even realize, Mom. It was never about you. It was about everything you took from me. Okay, viewers, what would you say if your own child looked you in the eyes and blamed you for every wrong in their life, even the ones you never caused? Would you argue? Or just break inside?" "I didn't take anything from you," I said, tears forming. "You took it from yourself." Daniel's voice turned sharp. "Give me the files." Morales stood up slowly. "You'll have to go through me first." Daniel's eyes flickered, not with guilt, but fury. "You should have stayed out of this, old man." Before he could move, Morales pulled something from his pocket. A small recorder flashing red. "Everything you just said," he said quietly, "is on tape." Daniel's face went white. He took a step back, realizing the trap. "Daniel," I said softly, "you can still walk away." He shook his head. "No, Mom. If I go down, I'm taking you with me." He turned and stormed out of the cafe, slamming the door so hard that every cup on the tables rattled. Morales exhaled slowly. That might have been his last warning. I clutched the table, trying to steady my hands. "What do we do now?" He looked at me grimly. "We wait for his next move, because he won't disappear quietly. Okay, guys. Sometimes the scariest silence isn't the one outside. It's the silence before someone loses everything." That evening, Morales dropped us back at the apartment. Before leaving, he said, "Lock the doors. Don't open them for anyone. Tomorrow morning, I'll deliver the files myself." But tomorrow morning would bring something none of us expected. Something that would change everything. Don't miss the next part, when Daniel's desperation explodes into chaos, and Rosa faces a choice between saving her son or protecting the truth. Morning came with a strange stillness. The sky outside was gray, heavy, and silent. The kind of silence that feels like it's holding its breath before something breaks. Lila sat beside me, nervously twisting the string of her hoodie. "Grandma," she said softly, "what if he comes back today?" I looked at her and tried to smile. "Then we'll face him together, sweetheart." But inside, my stomach churned. I had a feeling today would test everything. Our courage, our love, and our faith. Around 9 a.m., Morales called. "I'm heading to the precinct," he said. "Once I deliver these files, it's over." I exhaled slowly. "Be careful, Morales. He's desperate." "I know," he replied. "But desperate people make mistakes. And I'm counting on that." When the call ended, I turned to Lila. "It's almost over," I said softly. "Soon we'll have our lives back," she smiled weakly. "I just want things to be normal again, Grandma." "Okay, guys, tell me honestly, have you ever wanted life to go back to the way it was, even when you knew it never could? Because deep down, I knew that no matter how this ended, we'd never be the same again." An hour later, we heard a car pull up outside the building. My heart skipped a beat. I peeked through the curtain and froze. Daniel. He was standing by the car, looking straight at our window. His eyes were wild, his face pale and drawn, "Grandma," Lila whispered. "He found us." I backed away slowly. "Stay behind me." Before I could grab my phone, he started banging on the door. "Mom, open up. We need to talk." His voice was trembling now. Not calm, not controlled, but desperate. I shouted through the door. "Go away, Daniel." "It's over." "No, it's not," he yelled back. "You think Morales can stop me? You think anyone can? Okay, viewers, imagine your child, the one you raised, loved, and prayed for, standing outside your door screaming like a stranger. What would you do? Would you open it, or let the police take him away? I held my breath. "Daniel, please," I said softly. "Stop before it's too late." Then everything happened at once. The sound of glass shattering. The window beside the door broke inward. Daniel's hand reaching through to unlock it. Lila screamed. I grabbed her and pulled her toward the back of the apartment. But before we could reach the door, Daniel stepped inside. "Mom," he said, his voice shaking. "You don't understand." "I didn't want to hurt you." "Then stop," I cried. "Stop before you ruin what's left of yourself." He took a step closer, eyes wide. They were going to take everything from me. The business, the house. I had no choice. "No choice?" I said bitterly. "You had every choice, Daniel. You chose greed over family. Okay, guys? Have you ever tried to reach someone who's already fallen too far? And no matter how loud you scream, they can't hear you anymore?" That was my son in front of me. Lila stood behind me, shaking. "Dad, please stop," she cried. "You're scaring us." Her words hit him harder than anything I could have said. He froze, his face crumbling for just a moment. Like the boy he once was peeked through the cracks. Then suddenly, we heard sirens outside. Daniel turned toward the window, panic flashing in his eyes. No, they found me," he whispered. I looked at him and said quietly, "It's over, Daniel," but he shook his head violently. "No, it's not over until I fix this." He ran toward the back door, but the police had already arrived. Red and blue lights filling the room. "Daniel Morgan, hands where we can see them." He froze, breathing hard. For a second, I saw every bit of pain, anger, and regret swirling in his eyes. Then, slowly, he dropped to his knees. As the officers handcuffed him, he looked at me one last time. "Mom," he said softly, "I just wanted you to be proud of me." My heart broke completely. "I always was," I whispered. "I just wish you'd seen it." That night, after hours of questioning, Morales called again. "It's done," he said gently. He confessed to everything. "The case is closed." I didn't feel victory, only sorrow. Because even when justice wins, a mother's heart still loses something it can never get back. Okay, viewers, do you think forgiveness is possible after something like this? Or are some wounds meant to stay open so we remember? Don't miss the next part, the final chapter, where Rosa visits Daniel one last time and faces the hardest decision a mother can make. 2 weeks passed before I found the courage to visit him. The air outside the county jail was cold, carrying that heavy quiet that only exists where hope and regret meet. I walked slowly through the corridor until I reached the small glass booth. Daniel was already sitting there, his hands cuffed, his eyes tired. When he looked up and saw me, a flicker of something passed through him. Shame, pain, maybe both. "Mom," he said softly. For a second, I couldn't speak. My throat felt tight, my heart even tighter. Finally, I whispered, "You look thinner." He forced a small smile. "The food here isn't exactly your cooking." I almost laughed, but the sound caught halfway. "You used to love my cooking," I said quietly. "You'd sneak extra cookies when you thought I wasn't looking." His eyes dropped. "Yeah, I ruined everything, didn't I?" Take a second to like and subscribe, and press the bell icon to stay with me for more stories like this one. I pressed my hand against the glass. "You made mistakes, Daniel. Big ones. but you're still my son." He stared at my hand for a moment, then slowly lifted his own, pressing it against the glass on the other side. "I don't deserve you, Mom." I shook my head. "Maybe not right now, but you can start deserving better tomorrow." Okay, guys, have you ever looked at someone you love and realized you've lost them and found them all at once? Because that's how it felt, seeing the broken pieces of my boy trying to fit themselves back together. Daniel sighed. "They said I might serve 10 years. I nodded slowly. "Then make those 10 years count. Learn, change, forgive yourself." He looked up. "Do you forgive me?" The question pierced my soul. I thought of everything. The fear, the betrayal, the pain. But I also thought of the nights I'd held him when he was sick, the way he used to bring me wildflowers from the garden, the sound of his laughter before the world hardened him. "I do," I whispered, because love doesn't stop where mistakes begin. A tear rolled down his cheek. He looked at me like a child again. Not the man who hurt me, but the son who once made me whole. "Tell Leela," he started, his voice trembling. "Tell her I'm sorry." "I will," I promised. "But you should tell her yourself one day." When I left the jail, the sky had cleared. The air felt lighter, freer. Lila was waiting by the car, holding a small paper bag. "I brought him something," she said. "Cookies. The kind he used to like." I smiled softly. "He'll get them soon." She slipped her hand into mine as we walked toward the car. "Do you think he'll ever change?" I looked at the sunlight breaking through the clouds. I think he already has. Sometimes the hardest lessons are learned in the darkest places. Okay, viewers, tell me honestly, if someone you love hurt you deeply, but finally showed remorse, would you forgive them? Or would you let them carry their guilt forever? As we drove home, I glanced at the rearview mirror and caught my reflection. Tired, older, but peaceful for the first time in months. Life had taken me through storms I never imagined, but it also showed me something powerful. Love can break, bend, and still survive. I turned to Lila and smiled. "You know, sweetheart, families aren't perfect. But when we hold on to kindness, even after everything, that's what makes us strong." She squeezed my hand. "You're the strongest person I know, Grandma." Tears filled my eyes, but this time they weren't from pain. They were from relief. We drove on quietly, the city fading behind us, the road ahead open, like life was finally ready to give us peace. Friends, thank you for staying with me through this story. If it touched your heart, share it with someone who needs to hear it. And remember, forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting. It means choosing peace over pain. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and press the bell icon. And tell me in the comments, what would you have done if you were in my place? Sometimes life takes turns we never expect. Every person in this story carried their own pain, their own choices, and their own consequences. Maybe you saw yourself in one of them. Or maybe it reminded you of someone you once knew. What do you think happened next? What would you have done if you were in their place? If you have any questions about what happened to the other characters, or if you want me to share more about them, just comment below. I read every message you leave, and your thoughts truly mean a lot to me. And if this story touched your heart, inspired you, or even made you think differently, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. It helps me keep sharing stories that move people, open minds, and remind us we're all human at the end of the day. Your support keeps these stories alive. Thank you for watching, for feeling, and for being part of this journey. More powerful stories are coming soon. Stay tuned and stay kind.